Welcome to the Almost Audiophile. Today I want to talk about my Acoustic Research turntable. I mentioned in a previous video that I found it on an auction website, and I didn't really even know what it was. But as you can see here, it didn't look like it was in very good condition. There was no cartridge, stylus, headshell, anything. It was missing the logo there. And I went ahead and I picked it up because it looked cool, and I thought, well, maybe I can get it running. It's probably better than my Fisher turntable. So I won the auction, and I believe it was under $30, which shocked me later when I found out that on sites like eBay, these Acoustic Research turntables, even in the condition that I found it on this auction website, they're going for several $100s at sometimes. So I found out later just what kind of bargain it was that for me to get it under $30 by winning this auction. So after I picked it up, I actually had just put it in my garage for a little while, not knowing exactly what I was going to do with it. I was more interested in getting the Onkyo receiver working again with this Fisher turntable. Now, I had also gotten that Onkyo receiver on that same auction website for about $30 as well, and it just needed the pots and faders and connections cleaned up for it to work well. So I got that working with this Fisher turntable, and I was really excited about that. It was actually around that time that I started looking up some information about the Acoustic Research turntable so I could repair it. But I still didn't know exactly what I had. So I had found some websites, and I'll actually link in the description of the video how I figured out some ways to kind of look it over and clean it and repair it. It turned out there wasn't nearly as much wrong with it as I initially thought. It was just really dirty and needed cleaned out. And I needed to figure out how to get a new head shell, which, because the modern head shells are not compatible with the Acoustic Research turntable, I had to clean the tone arm up really well and kind of disassemble that even more so than in that picture. I actually took all the moving parts out of it, cleaned it up really well as best I could, cleaned up anything where there was friction. And then this is just a picture of like the audio RCA connectors inside the turntable, which I had never seen before. But I finally got it working again. And that was like my first test run right there. So I was pretty excited that it played. There was still a hum in the RCA channels, which I had to figure out later. You can't really hear it in the audio there, but and I did acquire a head shell with a pre-installed Audio-Technica. I think it's the AT-VM95E elliptical cartridge, already pre-installed, so that was nice. I got a new turntable belt, which was part of the problem, that it didn't want to start very easily. Like when I click on there, nothing happened. So I did get a new belt. I also figured out how to use the 45 adapter, which you have to take that top shell, that top plate off to get that working. And the thing that I did notice once I changed the belt was that you do have to give it just a little bit of a push to get it started. Because this is one of the earlier Acoustic Research turntables. So it only had one motor. They actually released it later with two motors to help the belt get going a little bit quicker. So I always give mine just a little bit of push when I start it, just gently, so it can get up to speed. One of the things I think I love the most about this turntable is that it's such a basic yet somehow elegant design. And it's so simple. Like, I've actually worked on some other turntables with a lot of moving parts, because they're automatic turntables, and those have all these different moving parts and friction points that you really got to make sure are working well. But this doesn't have nearly as many issues as a lot of those turntables because it's so simple. The design is so simple. You know, when you it's a completely fully manual turntable, which I think I prefer more than any automatic turntable I've ever used, because there's just not a whole lot that can really go wrong with it that can't be repaired relatively easy, compared to so many other, you know, fully automatic or semi-automatic turntables. You know, I'm going to open it up here in a second and just kind of show you the inside. There's not a whole lot to it. You know, I just removed these couple screws and pull the bottom cover off. And, you know, I was actually able to easily get to the RCA connectors, which I actually had to order I guess you could call it a custom RCA cable that had the ends, the prong ends, or the spade ends, as you might see there. And that got rid of that hum I mentioned earlier. I bought this plate, the logo plate on eBay, which just really, I think, just adds so much to it instead of just that spot that was sitting there without a logo on it. Just looked funny. So I bought that little plate. The suspension system is really what I think these Acoustic Research turntables were known for. And there's just so much about the suspension system that I'm not going to go into detail because there's a lot of information out there, but it really helps the performance of the turntable like extremely well. And there's a close-up of the Headshell I got on eBay with the Audio-Technica cartridge and stylus already pre-installed, and I'll link a description. I'm gonna link in the description, you know, some things that I found on eBay that really helped me get this thing going, so that you guys can see, you know, that this is pretty simple and easy to find parts to fix these if you are lucky enough to find one that you think's in decent enough condition to kind of repair, because it wasn't really as difficult as I originally thought it was going to be. So how does this thing perform then? Well, I don't have dozens of turntables that have been able to test with this, but I can tell you that compared to the Victrola suitcase player that I originally was using, the Fisher turntable that I did use for a while, on this system with this Onkyo receiver and these Polk Audio speakers I use, you know, if you haven't checked out my other videos yet, you can, so see what I'm talking about there. I think it sounds amazing. I think it performs very well. Yeah, and it is subjective. I can't objectively tell you that this is one of the best top 10 iconic vintage turntables. I mean, it comes up on those lists all the time, but I just know I love it. It sounds great, and it performs well. You know, the suspension system in this thing just really helps keep the cartridge and stylus tracking very well. You know, I've got the tracking system, the tracking weight set just like the I'm supposed to. It's right at about 1.9 or 2 grams. And I check it every now and then. And as I play this little record here, this Pink Floyd album, I didn't want to play a whole bunch of audio here, but you know, I'm going to be tapping on this Acoustic Research turntable and the console, and it is not skipping, it's not jumping, it just really plays well. It's not even hardly moving at all. That cartridge Headshell, you know, I'm pounding on it, and you've seen there's actually people doing videos of this where they're throwing, you know, they're tapping hammers on it, and it's still playing. It's that suspension system, and it was the first one of its kind like that. And there's a lot of research out there. There's a lot of videos out there showing and demonstrating and talking about this Acoustic Research turntable. But, you know, it is, I really do think I lucked out in getting it, and I love it, and I'll probably keep using it as long as I possibly can, as long as it works well. I don't actually see myself replacing this turntable anytime soon. Does that mean I might not upgrade certain components to it, like the cartridge and stylus? No, I really want to upgrade it and see how much better it can sound, even with better equipment. But for now, this is my turntable, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and until next time on the Almost Audiophile.